Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the North Peninsula Democratic Club's second annual Candidates Endorsement Forum. Today we have 15 candidates from 8 agencies in San Mateo County who will be interviewed for an opportunity to receive our club endorsement. Interviews take place this afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 5, our executive board will meet to discuss and make endorsement recommendations to the eligible voting members of our club. From 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., our eligible club voting members shall meet to hear and discuss the board's recommendations. All eligible members will then vote on endorsements. On Monday, the candidates will be advised by email of the results of our endorsement process. North Peninsula Democratic Club values integrity in our candidates forum. We go to great lengths to ensure that all candidates receive the exact same level of information at the same time. Also, we have a subcommittee of 2 executive board members who researched and formulated the questions based on issues pertinent to the candidates' individual agencies. The questions were prepared, placed in an envelope, closed, and securely taped by the subcommittee members. The envelope will be opened for the first time by our moderator. Neither the moderator nor I have any knowledge of what the questions are, nor did we participate in the question process. Our moderator today is the Honorable Jean Mullen, former Assemblyman representing the former Assembly District 19. This is the envelope that was received from our subcommittee, who I like to refer to as our club's Price Waterhouse subcommittee. And they have sealed it, obviously, very, very well. And I'm going to present this envelope to our moderator to please open in your presence, and I'm going to then move to the timers table. So enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you, Marge, and I can't tell you how excited I am to look at the questions. The one thing I have is I hope the type is large enough that I can read it. What did Johnny Carson say? These have been on a mayonnaise jar on the Pumpkin Wagnall's porch since noon yesterday.
I thought you were going to do this, Gene. Gene, I thought you were going to put it next to your head and then tell me what the question was.
Just talking about Ed McMahon. When's the last time 2 people talked about Ed McMahon in the last 10 years? Dealing with school district, Brisbane School District. Okay. In 1 minute, I'm going to ask the 2 of you to begin with your opening statements, and then I will use the questions that have been provided, and then if someone in the audience has additional ones, I will look for those. And if not, I have a couple of my own that hopefully have not been part of this initial questions. And I think they drew to see who would go first, is that correct? They didn't? Okay, I think closest to me, so we're going to have Dave Canepa. Would you have a minute for your opening statement, and welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Assemblymember Mullen. First, let me recognize President Marge Colapietro of the North Peninsula Democratic Club, and also recognize those watching on MCTV. My name is David Canepa. I'm currently the Vice Mayor of the City of Daly City, and I'm a candidate for the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, District 5. I've had the opportunity to serve on the City Council for 8 years. In 2014, I had the opportunity to be mayor. The issues that I find most important, I've literally walked the district now. I think I've hit about 30,000 households, going door to door, really sort of understanding what's important to residents. And some of those things are the issues that I'm advocating for. Affordable health care, looking at ways to address housing. These are the issues that seem to concern the residents of District 5. And as a fourth generation San Mateo County resident born at Seton Hospital, it'd be a wonderful opportunity to serve, and I thank you for your time.
Okay, very good. Thank you, David. Mike, you're up.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm Mike Guingona, a candidate for the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, District 5. My qualifications and experience are what distinguish me from my opponent. I've led the largest city in San Mateo County as a 6-term council member and 5-time mayor of Daly City. I'm a practicing attorney, and I've been able to use my legal expertise in many aspects of my job as a council member, from land use to employment law. I've represented the city on many boards and commissions. I've served 11 years on SamTrans and 9 years on the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, both of which I've chaired. I currently serve on regional boards for water, fire safety, and clean electricity. As a father to a high school senior, I'm committed to education for our youth, with whom I've worked closely as a high school history teacher and a coach. I'll be an advocate for affordable housing, jobs, public health, and transportation. I'll serve the people in my district and all of San Mateo County with the same commitment, passion, and purpose as I have in Daly City. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mike and David, for the opening statements. We now have 3 questions. They're called forum questions. I will ask one. Each one of you will have a minute to respond. And then if there's a rebuttal, you'll each have 45 seconds to respond. David, since you went first with the opening statement, we'll have Mike go first with the first of the 3 forum questions, which is, what is the single biggest issue facing the 5th supervisorial district, and how would you address it? Mike?
The largest, the biggest issue in the 5th district is affordable housing. And the way that I would address it is the same way that I've addressed it for the years that I've been on the city council. You know, we were able to start a housing endowment trust fund. We were able to get developers to create incentives for them to create affordable housing. We worked with nonprofits and things of that nature. I think that my expertise in Daly City will transfer directly to San Mateo County. They've just recently released funds for Measure A to do housing projects in the North County. I'm excited and ready to hit the road and work with my colleagues there. I've had an opportunity to speak to those colleagues about what's important to them, and it's clear that housing and to be able to deal with the housing jobs balance is something that we're really looking forward to working with people on the Board of Supervisors. And again, in Daly City, we have had a chance to do that, and again, in the county, we've been able to work hard on that.
All right, I'm going to have David respond to the same question. Then if there's a rebuttal by either one of you, we'll do that after both have made their statements. So,
I think there's a couple issues. I think the most important issue is affordable housing. I represent all 20 cities on the Bay Area Air Quality Management, and I also served as the Vice Chair of the Transportation Authority. So when it comes to housing, it's about creating livable, walkable communities. And so as I was mayor of Daly City, we took an area, and we continue to take an area that was a blighted area, which is Mission Street, and put housing and couple that with transportation. The other thing I think is vitally important, this seat is not just a Daly City seat. It's Brisbane, it's Colma, portions of South San Francisco, and portions of San Bruno. But one of the things that I think is necessarily needed is to see what we can do to establish a district office for our constituents. So rather than having residents take a bus for a couple hours or drive for an hour to Redwood City, is to really have a place centrally located in the district where we can have them access services through my office if elected.
all right, do either one of you have a rebuttal for the others opening?
Yeah, I'll have a rebuttal.
Okay. Yeah,
So
45 seconds.
in the same vein of moving services to the North County, I would like to bring your attention to something that's happened in the past, and that is that we've lost the North County Superior Court. I worked as a private defender for a year, and I've actually practiced in that area. I think we should bring those services back. to the North County. I think that the idea of people getting divorced and accessing the courts is something that I think is an equality issue, and I think people in the North County should have the same access to the Superior Court that people in other areas of the county do. So if elected, that's one of the things that I will be working on, that is bringing those services back to the North County.
Okay, David, do you have a rebuttal? Or?
I just wanted to say this, and expanding on the office a little. As I've walked the district, a lot of people don't know what the Board of Supervisors do. And as you know, the County of San Mateo has a $2.5 billion budget. It employs about 6,000 people. But what I'd like to do is to make sure when we go into these various communities that they know the services we provide, whether it's criminal justice, whether it's health and human services, whether it's healthcare. And so those are some of the things I want to do in terms of outreaching to my constituents.
All right, thank you. Question 2, and David, you'll have the first crack at this. What distinguishes you from your opponent?
It's a very good question. I never sort of get into, what distinguishes me from my opponent, but I'll tell you this. I think one of the things that I take tremendous pride on is just being accessible. If people have a question and answer, whether it's in Daly City, the streets need to be fixed, or whether it's Mr. Canepa, I need access to resources for a job. I've always thought of myself as being the person to connect people with community resources. I've also been a proactive legislator. Coming up with ideas, I'm so happy that Daly City was the first city in San Mateo County, the 7th city in the United States to sign on to the Convention to End Discrimination Against Women. I'm happy to be the champion of making sure that Daly City does not reduce fire services and pushing forward Measure B. So I don't like the contrast issue, but let's just focus on what we're about and be positive about it. Thanks.
All right, Mike.
I disagree. I think that people here need to know, and they need to make this decision. This is a job interview, folks. Let's be honest. We both work at a certain level of government, and we're both looking for a promotion. And so I think qualifications and experience are one of the key things that you need to look at. I am a father to a 16-year-old son. I'm a homeowner in this county. I'm an employer. I've employed people before. I've been a tenant in this area. I've been a landlord in a commercial aspect. These are things that I've done that I, to the best of my knowledge, my opponent has not done. It gives me a unique opportunity and a unique perspective on what people need in this area. And not only that, I'm also, I was born and raised in the area, and this area is 51% immigrant or raised in an immigrant area. I am the son of an immigrant, and I understand what it's like and what those struggles are like for the people that are here in this area. So those are kind of the things that set me apart. I'm an attorney, a coach, a lot of things.
Now, this is an opportunity for either one of you to rebut what the others said, and you have 45 seconds should you choose.
Sure. I just wanted to sort of, set the record straight a little. I am a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for the last 8 years. So in terms of, the business community and running a business, I understand the challenges of doing that. I'm a 4th generation San Mateo County resident. My mother had a business in Daly City. So my passion for this area is really rooted in where I'm coming from. And like my father said to me, to know where you're going, you have to know where you're from. And so having that as context, to be your representative, to serve you on this Board of Supervisors, it's something that is not only personal, but it's something that I want to do with great pride. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes, I think that one of the things that distinguishes me from my opponent also is the fact that leadership has been something that has been in my background for many, many years. I joined the military a couple of years ago to challenge myself and to also see what I could do as far as volunteering my time for this community. So I joined the California State Military Reserve. I think the leadership positions I've held in the county, they're not just figurehead positions. For 11 years, I was on SamTrans, and I actually chaired SamTrans, so I know what it's like to chair a group of people. Transportation Authority, I didn't vice chair it. I chaired it at the time when we were trying to reauthorize Measure A, and we were successful at doing it. So my record speaks for itself as it relates to working with other people from other cities, collaborating and getting things done.
All right, thank you. Third question from the forum, and this, Mike, you'll be the lead on this. Does the county play a role in housing, rent control, and evictions? If not, what steps should the county take to better address the housing needs of its residents? Mike?
Let me just start by saying that rent control and rent stabilization is an issue that is coming to the forefront. There are some pieces of legislation and in other areas of the county that are now being heard, and clearly it's an issue that needs to be looked at. Now, unlike my opponent, I would be willing to look at rent control and rent stabilization issues. I would be willing to meet with groups of landlords and tenants and to be able to see whether or not that's something that they would want to take a look at. You know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, as we look at those other rent control and rent stabilization measures, we determined that the 1% floor and the 4% ceiling is something that might be reasonable, and it might be something that we may be able to look at in North County. So I'd be willing to take a look at it. I'd be willing to discuss it with any group that wants to bring it forward.
All right, thank you, David.
So my housing solution is predicated on creating inventory. And so the city and county of San Francisco have done a tremendous job. A year ago, they created a $350 million housing bond. They're now, that same bond is being heard in Santa Clara County. It's $750 million. And it addresses a couple things. It addresses issues around workforce housing for teachers and nurses, lower income housing. And so what I had suggested, and it seems that you know, through this conversation, is that we should look at potentially a $500 million affordable housing bond. Now, some of that may be addressed in the future through Measure K, because there's going to be a carve out. I think that's a very, very important step in creating housing. More importantly, I think local jurisdictions should have the ability to decide if they want that particular housing.
Okay, chance for rebuttal, either one.
I don't want people to get the idea that rent control is the answer. It is but a tool in a toolbox of things, in a range of solutions to an issue. In Daly City, we put our money where our mouth is. We started the Housing Endowment Trust Fund in 2007, and we were able to create housing, affordable housing for people, 66 units, over $1 million. You know, we've created incentives for builders to create housing. We've created incentives for nonprofits to not only work with us and collaborate with the county, but in ways to provide that housing for those that need it the most.
Dave? No. Okay, this is an opportunity now for members of the audience. If you have any questions, would you raise a pinky if you do? All right. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll repeat the question.
I'll try to speak loud, my loud voice. Okay. I'm from an area that's considered unincorporated, so we have particular needs and stuff. So, but question I want to ask both candidates: what have you done to help and really help Broadmoor through some of the crises they've gone through? What have you done to be a supporter of Broadmoor?
That's a question about the unincorporated area of Broadmoor, which is an island circle of county property in the middle of the Daly City area. The question Marie asks is, what have you done or will you do for the residents of Broadmoor going out into the future? Oh, I'm sorry, David.
Moderator, I didn't really say what will you do, did I? I said, what have you done?
All right, okay. What have you done?
Because I want the experience of what have they done for Broadmoor before coming to this position?
Okay.
So I've had a long-standing relationship with the Broadmoor POA. So for those who know what the Broadmoor POA is, that's the Broadmoor Properties Owners Association. So I've frequently, for the last 7 years, attended their meetings. And so one of the issues that I was sort of privileged to work on, is that the county was looking at doing, they called it MSR, it's a municipal service review. And they were talking about a potential consolidation. Colma was also included. It was done through LAFCO of Broadmoor sort of falling in within those cities. I know Broadmoor very well, and so I went to the LAFCO and I stood up with the neighbors and said, you know, I really sort of would take umbrage with this, because Broadmoor should have, should make its own decisions. Broadmoor should have its autonomy. And so I think through LAFCO, they realized the wisdom of that MSR review and said that clearly they said, that Broadmoor should remain Broadmoor. And so I remain committed to Broadmoor and its autonomy. As you know, if elected to the Board of Supervisors, I would represent Broadmoor, which doesn't have a city council or mayor, so appreciate that. Thank you.
Mike?
For those of you that don't know, Broadmoor is represented by as an unincorporated area in San Mateo County. It is not represented by anybody in Daly City. In the 23 years that I've been on the city council, the only times that I've ever been called upon to actually help in Broadmoor would be times when the police commission were asking for us to support legislation, the sunset and sunrise legislation as it relates to keeping Broadmoor a special police district. I've worked with every person in the assembly that has carried that bill, and also Jackie Spear in the Congress. So, and not only that, I've also served on the annexation committee of Daly City. So, my record is clear as it relates to Broadmoor, and that is, Broadmoor is best left for Broadmoor to care for themselves. And as it relates to Daly City, I've never ever supported any kind of annexation or any kind of efforts to take over their autonomy. So I respect their autonomy.
Okay, and a rebuttal, either one? No. Okay. All right, second question from the audience. Yeah.
Hi, I have a recent question, and being from the Daly City, our most densely populated, a big concern is that recently we had Fire Engine 95 was voted on at our council to be eventually shut down, so 3-2. I'm very concerned because is this going to happen in the county? And what was your vote? And why would you take a risk if whoever voted to shut down Engine 95, why wasn't any options given and to risk our public safety on Engine 95 and our police? Thank you.
Okay,
and
Mike,
are you supported by fire and police?
Mike,
That's
I'm going to
about
let the question
11
stand.
questions. Before I answer that question, I just want to make it clear that Ms. DiGiovanni is an endorser of Mr. Canepa and a supporter. So I think that people need to know that that's very clear. So, what were your questions? Okay, the first question is Engine 95. And I'm glad you gave me this opportunity to speak here, because I think what she wants me to say is that I voted to close down a fire station. Very far from the truth. The truth of the matter is that when I got elected in 1993, we actually had a closed fire station. And the thing that I ran on was that I would open that fire station, and we opened that fire station. Now what happened there was we had budget cuts that happened in 1992 that made it so that we had to close the fire station. Now as far as my vote this year, we were faced with some very drastic budget cuts, and the choices I was given were to close a fire station or to take an engine out of commission. Now, if we were to close a fire station, we would have had a geographic hole in the city, wouldn't have been able to be taken care of. After talking to my fire chief, who is also the fire chief of the North County Fire Authority, we were able to come up with a solution that didn't create a geographic hole, and one that our partners thought was workable, and that is to take an engine out of commission. Now, the alternative would have been to not pass a balanced budget, and as we all know, it's illegal to not pass a budget in the municipal level. So I did the responsible thing, and that is I voted for the budget.
All right. David?
So the closure of Fire Engine 95 was traumatic to the community. And I do want to say something before that. Ms. DiGiovanni doesn't work for me, so I wanted to set that record straight. The closure of the fire engine, there were so many in our community that came to our council meeting. I received so much correspondence. And the reason they were concerned, Daly City is a city of about 104,000 people. On a daily basis, we have 5 fire engines. If we would have closed the fire engine, that would have brought us down to 4 fire engines. We had the former fire chief, Bob O'Donnell, who had been the chief for many years. He had served for 30 years. He had come out and said, and he's came out and clearly said, you are putting the public safety at risk by doing this. I listened to what the chief said, the former chief had said, listened to our neighborhoods, listened to our community, and I'm happy to say there's always a silver lining. We're looking at Measure V, which is a parcel tax, and hopefully that'll be put forward.
All right, you each have 45 seconds of rebuttal, if you wish.
Okay, I also listened to the former chief, but I found that the opinion of the current chief was more valid. I thought the opinion of the current chief as it relates to how a service level change in one area would affect the entire cities, all the cities. I listened to what he had said, and I think I listened to what my city manager had said about what occurred in the situation. And, you know, being a person that's actually been on the North County Fire Authority, you know, we were able to consolidate fire services in that area, and we were able to do it with union support, and we were able to do it seamlessly. What it resulted in was a closure of fire station in Brisbane and in Pacifica. So those communities aren't any less safe because they closed 2 stations. In fact, because of the fact that we started NCFA, they're safer today than they are with those stations.
Okay. David?
You know, I just wanted to say this. Mike had talked earlier about the rotation of fire stations, and this is really impactful. So let me tell you what happens and why we need this fire engine. So if you look at Brisbane, they have their fire station. You look at South San Francisco, you look at these other cities, what happens is a rotation takes place. So Mike's correct in saying that if you don't have an engine, one comes up. However, that city which backfills, it's sort of like dominoes. So if someone doesn't have a fire engine open or fire station open because that fire truck or fire engine is moved to another location. Let me tell you this. I've been endorsed by the Daly City Firefighters. I've been endorsed by the San Mateo County Firefighters Association, the Deputy Sheriff's Association. And the reason that they've endorsed me is because I prioritize public safety. I want to be very, very clear. I will not put the public safety at risk when it comes to fire or police.
Great, thank you. All right, now it's time for the closing statement. You'll each have 1 minute, and since David had...
Can I have
I'm sorry, we only have 2 questions.
She's from Brisbane, is it okay?
I am.
Give her a chance.
I'm sorry?
She's from Brisbane, she drove from Brisbane.
It's okay. There's no time.
Okay.
I'm going to follow the format.
Okay.
I'll stay later, you can ask me.
Me as well.
You each
I'd
have,
like to ask
you have 1 minute on the closing statement, and since David, you had the opening first, Mike, you have the closing first.
Thank you very much for letting me be here today. You know, I believe that you should endorse the candidate that best embodies its long history of community activism and inclusion. For 23 years, I've served the citizens of Daly City as a public servant. Before that, I was a public defender in San Francisco, helping some of the most disadvantaged people in that community, having fair representation when dealing with the criminal justice system. I've worked with the party to get Democrats elected and pass Democratic legislation. I'm also the most involved in my community. Beyond my council service, I'm a parent, I'm a high school teacher, wrestling coach, and I serve as a 2nd lieutenant in State Military Reserve. Lastly, my election would make San Mateo County history, as I'd be the first API San Mateo County Supervisor, and as far as I can determine, I'm the first Filipino American to even run for the city, the office. I'm a committed Democrat, community servant, and I hope to be a trailblazer for the community I represent, as I did as the first Filipino elected to the Daly City Council. I offer my resume, my public record, and commitment, and I humbly request your support for my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. David?
Thank you very much. Let me again thank the North Peninsula Democrats, March Colapietro. Thank you, Assemblymember Mullen, for conducting this. The reason I'm running for this position is to make positive change and positive difference. I've been endorsed by the Peninsula Young Democrats. I've been endorsed by California State Senator Mark Leno. I've been endorsed by Assemblymember Phil Ting. I've been endorsed by my colleagues throughout the county of San Mateo. This job is a very, very important job, and I want to leave the audience with this. I believe in people-focused government. So if elected, my office will provide the best constituent services. I mentioned that earlier. Second, if I was able to win, we'd make sure that we have proactive legislation. And so these are the values that I plan on running on and bringing to the county. And so thank you again for this opportunity, and look forward to hopefully winning the Board of Supervisors.
All right, let me, on behalf of the North Peninsula Democratic Club, let me thank both of you, and also for setting a very high standard for the debates to come. I think you both have done an excellent job. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.